well, we got the BNR update, and what I didn't want to happen, happened. First of all, what is the BNR update? We got the Briar Living Legend update. Bullseye Bracers is moved to suspended instead of banned when Lexi LLs. No changes in Blitz. They changed how Living Legend points are going to scale a bit, and some changes to Commoner and Ultimate Pit Fight. I don't really play these formats. And then the one that I really want to spend some time talking about is right here at the end. Weirdly, the most important part of this BNR update is the next BNR update. We are getting it on November 6th, which is roughly 2 weeks before Worlds. So first of all, my thoughts on the BNR update itself. We saw no actual changes to the format, and I think that's fine. I think it's perfectly reasonable for there to be no changes to the format. I think this is actually one of the best formats I've played in the entirety of the time I've been playing Flesh and Blood, and I don't think we needed the change. The only thing we really could have seen was some small adjustments to Lexi to kind of rein in her power level a little bit, but I think not doing that was perfectly reasonable. Just let her ride off into the sunset and LL finally. Personally, I would have liked a small tweak. Make the ProQuest season a little bit more enjoyable for most people, so that way they have less non-games into her and such, and some more counterplay. But that's my opinion. I understand them not wanting to do anything and just like kind of leave it alone. Perfectly reasonable. And the Bullseye Bracer change, that's totally reasonable. That makes sense. It probably should have been that to begin with. If you want to see more of my thoughts on what I wanted to see for this BNR update, though, just click on the link on the top here. I go more in depth talking about the BNR update and what I wanted to see for the format. So let's jump into the meat and potatoes on what I actually want to talk about here of the really substantial part of this announcement, which is when the next announcement is. Kind of a weird thought where the announcement of an announcement is the real news here. So basically what this means is we're going to have the format we've been playing in plus the new set for the ProQuest season. Then once the ProQuest season is over, we're going to get the next BNR update. It's going to be a new format theoretically. At this point we should see Lexi and potentially Icelander LL. It's almost certain that we're going to see Lexi LL at this point, but who knows? We could have another Prism Briar situation where they limp along for another couple months. That'd be pretty funny to happen again. And then we will have a brand new format where these hyper-dominant gatekeepy heroes will not be in the metagame, and then we will have about 2 weeks of exploring this metagame before Worlds. Now, first of all, I would like to recognize that I understand with the BNR update, you can't make everyone happy. And in this case, I just happen to be in the camp of unhappy people. And that being said, I'm not like crazy unhappy about this. It's not like, oh my god, this ruins the game. Fab is unplayable now. Make the clickbait title now. Fab is dead. No, it's not that bad. It's just, I have some issues with this, and I would like to voice my opinion on that. And most of the negatives that I have with this are actually for other people, not myself. I am personally benefiting from this, so my complaints are for other players mostly. So us having this update right before Worlds turns us effectively into a shake-up ban where the meta is going to drastically change right before the major tournament that we're all practicing for. Why is this an issue? A lot of us put a lot of time into practicing for these tournaments, as one would, and we're basically going to have to be predicting a metagame that we're practicing for and kind of playing with a lot of unknowns. You see this with PT1, where we had that shake-up ban right before the Pro Tour, and then a lot of people were suddenly in the spot where they're like, what am I supposed to do about this? Like, if you're an Icelander player, are you supposed to be continuing practicing Icelander, or should you be spending this time learning a new deck? What decks kind of come out of this now that these ice decks aren't in the meta theoretically? It leads to a lot of issues of testing where people will not fully be prepared for the literally largest event of the year for the game. Now, I mentioned earlier that I am personally taking advantage of this, that I am in a spot where this is beneficial to me. That is because I'm a part of a team. Things like this really benefit people that are a part of large play test groups or teams, as they have more eyes on the game, they can get more games, more testing, solve this stuff quicker. So I get a massive advantage from this, as I am able to be a part of one of these groups, and I can theoretically figure this stuff out before other people can that are not a part of these kind of networks that can solve these things. Now, while I appreciate the free EV there, I think that is bad for the game as a whole and for the average player going to these types of events. Kind of weird saying average player when we're talking about Worlds, but I think you guys know what I mean when I'm talking about that, of just like the majority of people going to this event are not going to be people on these teams. It's going to be a lot of like individual players or part of very small testing groups that maybe don't have the ability to solve this stuff that quickly. They're going to be doing their best to figure it out, but it's going to be with very limited information. This kind of goes against comments also from LSS where they wanted to see more fresh faces topping these events, where this directly contradicts that by making it so people that are on teams in these larger playtest groups are the ones that are advantaged, leading to them having a better chance at doing well at these events, leading to the same people doing well at these events. It's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, leading to the same people doing well over and over. Now, again, say less, I will take the free advantage. I would like to at least recognize the detriment that they can cause to other players in the game. And I also think this is a strange choice because in the article, there's a section where they're talking about kind of like the health of the metagame and like their thoughts on it and like why they don't make any immediate changes to the metagame to deal with Lexi. And in it, they talk about how Lexi is one of the healthiest top decks the game has ever seen, talking about how there's positives to Lexi being in the meta and it's not just like this polarizing dominant deck that's gotta go. Again, I agree. I 100% agree with this. I think Lexi is a great deck for the game. I agree with all of these points that they're making here. I am not naysaying any of that. But what I think is weird is if you think that is the case and she's not like straight negative being in the game, that it's a perfectly reasonable deck to leave alone for a little bit, then why not just push the date off a little bit and let her be legal for Worlds? If you don't think she should be legal for Worlds, then maybe an adjustment was needed for the health of the game. And I can understand not wanting to do that because you just want to LL her, but then, I don't know, it's like a lot of weird things going on at the same time of like, you know, we don't know everything going on in there and all of their thoughts. There's only so much they can put into an article. But it's like, you know, LL isn't meant to be used as a format balancing tool, is something that they said in the past. They say that Lexi's perfectly reasonable to be in the format right now. But then we're going to try rotating her before the biggest major. It's just like a lot of weird, it feels like conflicting things. It's not necessarily conflicting, but it feels that way. I personally would have just liked to have let the format ride out through Worlds and then right after Worlds, like the Monday of or whatever day they normally do these announcements, we ban Lexi or LL it, announce the LL update. So that way people can have their sufficient practice for the major and let the format ride out. Because this only affects people going to Worlds. Literally just people going to Worlds. Doesn't affect anyone going to ProQuest season. It affects a few weekends of armories, like whatever. Like that matters, but if that's a concern, then there could have been something on the BNR update if that was actually a concern. There's definitely people going to Worlds that would like to see her LL'd. I feel as though this is a net negative for a lot of people going, both in uncertainty of what the meta is going to be and inability to properly practice for the metagame, where us just like knowing what's up after the ProQuest season, I think is better for everyone. I do also feel some sort of way about the Living Legend change, but I feel some sort of way about Living Legend in general. I don't really want to go into my thoughts about that in this video. I might make one in the future. I don't have the data to really speak on this though, of whether or not this is a good change or anything. So I'm just going to hope that they know what's best on this and they know more than I do, and this is a good change. I'm just going to assume the best here because I assume the company has good intentions and that they've thought this out thoroughly. But I do feel some sort of way about Living Legend and the changes. I might talk about that in the future. But that's pretty much it. What do you guys think about this BNR update? Are you happy about it? Is there anything that you guys wanted to see? Do you not like it? Let me know your thoughts below. Do you agree or disagree with me on the point of this negatively impacting some people and positively impacting others? Do you think that's an issue? Or do you think it should just be this way where we should have a shakeup before majors? I'm genuinely curious what you guys think on that. Of do you like seeing shakeup bans like this? If you want to see more of my thoughts on the ban list, I do talk about it in this video over here. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you.